Hello, friends. You know, it's kind of funny to me to be talking on this Facebook thing. It's like talking into your living room, talking to people that you know, although there's so many of you that I don't know. But, when we started this Facebook gig, 11, 12 years ago? 10, 11, probably 11, 12 years ago. We did it for fun and giggles, and then it turned into serious things, and some of it turned into money making gigs, and some of it was the only way for people to relate to one another, etc. Well, over time, we live and we learn and we figure out what we're doing. So 11 years ago, I was 56, 57. And so I've been going through a bit of transformation over the last 11, 11 or so years. And last night I had a dream. And in the dream, I was being extremely transparent on this device called Facebook. And what I normally like to do is I like to give little teachings. I like to give little things that sometimes apply to me, and sometimes they have nothing to do with me whatsoever. It's just something I'm feeling inside my gut, and something I feel like somebody needs to hear and somebody will be encouraged by or whatever. But this was me in this dream, really truly being raw and transparent. So I'm going to be raw and transparent like the dream and just rock on with life, because I know God has me in a place right now, different than he has before, very different. And so just one moment, please. I'm looking for something. I don't announce my things very often anymore just because I don't really care. But I do feel like there's something that is important for someone to hear. And maybe it's important that I say it. And so, religion. When I first came to know God, I got really, really involved in serving, in you name it, I got involved in it. And I got involved in it because I love to serve. I love to encourage people. I love to help people. That's just kind of part of my true DNA. I wouldn't say that my gifting is helps, but I love to help people. And I love to be there for people. And so when I came to know God and who I knew God to be then, I found a safe place in the church that I went to, and it was really the place God sent me, and it was amazing. And it was my home for many, many years. And it helped shape and mold my life to really trust God and not trust myself so much. And in that place, I learned how to serve, from book tables to going in early for intercession, making sure you're there at 7 a.m. and then being back at 4 p.m. or what have you, and serving in just different conferences and all sorts of things for years and years. Being in the choir, being on the media team, helping in women's ministries, teaching in Sunday school classes, just all the things you do. And part of the reason you do it is because, like I said, you just want to help and you want to encourage people and you want to be useful. You want to feel productive. Well, my mind was so screwed up when I first came to know God that when I entered into the church and found a place that I thought was sanity and stability, that's where I started to give out my life. And so that became my place of service. Not society, not my family, not my neighbors, but inside the church became my focus. And I want to say that for me, unbeknownst to me, even though God used it in a major way in my life, and I'm very thankful, I realize now that it really turned me into being a very religious, law-oriented person, LAW. Rules and regulations, protocol. It was like being in a corporate setting all the time. And I've worked in the corporate setting, and corporate settings don't like me. And I don't like corporate settings. I'm way too raw and real for a corporate setting to work in one. And so it was fine, but I wasn't able to really ever be the real me. And when I attempted to be the real me, it was looked down upon. And so I lived like that for a long, long time. Good things came out of that situation. I met my husband there. My dad came to know God in the place where I went to church, which I still love. I still believe is an amazing place to go to church. But I'm talking about in the religious system, the structure of this place where I found my identity. It was all I knew. And God began to lead me out from that space of just church. In that space of church, I had giftings that came forth, whether it be in song or whether it be in teaching or things of that nature where it was more public. Those giftings came forth. But it was clear over time that those weren't the giftings that were necessarily needed or wanted or desired inside the church. And so God began to compel me to go outside the church. Well, that's what God wanted in the first place. He wanted me to find a space to live my life outside the church building. The church building itself, the place where we meet on a regular basis, is really just to encourage us and strengthen us and equip us to go out there in real life, in the real world, to encourage and strengthen and love people. It's supposed to be a place where we learn how to love people. It equips us to be able to love. It's supposed to. And so I'm sharing this because I really felt led to share this from the get-go in my dream. This is what God had me do. And so in that religious place, that became my identity. So over a long period of time, eventually, I met my husband there. Eventually, we also left that space, that particular church, went and found another church and another church, and then we were settled in a church that we love for the season of life we're in right now. But this isn't about the church. This isn't about going to church. This is about identity. And in that place of religion, I found striving. It was a place to strive. It was a place to become. It was a place to do things. It was a place to identify myself as being significant, as being someone that could be productive, because I needed that, and we all need to be productive. But the place of productivity isn't just in the church. If you are a church-going person, if you are a Christian and you like church, the church is not the only place to serve. The church is not the only place to find your life, yourself. And the church is not always the safest place either. Take your life and go out there and give someone your life and give people a glimpse of the God who lives inside of you and the God who loves you, and love them in a space that's not churchy, that's not considered religious. Our pastor, who has now passed away, he used to be at the gym a lot. And he would, I believe, even train people in their physique and that sort of thing. And it would be months sometimes before someone would ever ask him what he did, because he didn't really make it known that he was a pastor, because he was just loving people where they are and being a safe place for them to turn to and building relationship with people and that sort of thing. And then he would tell them what he did. And then all of a sudden things would change a little bit, because then they'd be uncomfortable because they'd been cussing or whatever, you know? And so finding a space to love people and to live outside the place of religion, but in relationship with this God who loves us and this God who lives inside of us, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Becoming and being who we really are. And I just I don't see finding who we really are by just serving inside the four walls of any church, in any space, in any religion, because we need to be out here where the world can taste and see and know the goodness of God in the land where we're living in. This is the land that we're living in. This physical body we're living in, this temple you live in, this physical body, man, take care of it, because God lives inside you and He values you. He values your physical body. Those scriptures that talk about the flesh profiteth nothing, listen, God lived inside those physical bodies. God lives inside you. Take care of your body. So where I'm headed with this is this. In this place of religion, eventually I got really, really tired. And I did not know what it was. But what it was me striving. Me striving to hear God. Me striving to get revelation. Me striving to serve. Me striving to please God. Me striving to teach appropriately. Me striving to dress appropriately. Me striving to fit in appropriately, so that I pleased God, so that others were pleased with me, so that I looked like the righteous woman of God that I was, not knowing that I wasn't really living and moving and breathing and having my being in the fullness of the Christ at that place. I was living, moving, and breathing in religion, while Jesus was saying, hey, come, just be with me. Let me show you the way. Let me show you how to live life with me inside you, Donna. I want to encourage you today. Just to love yourself. I have gone down some really strong roads that were really strong distractions from identity. I want to encourage you not to take that same road. I encourage you to be still and just know who you are. Get to know you. Don't run from you. Most of us run from ourselves. Even these videos that we do, man, people get on and get off. Why? Because our attention span is like, you got like 30 seconds to get my attention, and then I'm off to the next thing, because if you don't say what I want you to say, I'm going. Because there's no relationship here. You know? I just want to encourage you to get to know you. This last year, we had a grandbaby. And talk about getting a glimpse of rest. A glimpse of remembering the space we're supposed to live in, which is rest. A space inside where we live inside the one who created us. He's not living out here. He's the water inside of you and the water inside of me. And water is just there. I've gone through a lot of meanderings. Trying to figure out what I'm made for. You know, there's a scripture here in Colossians where it talks about that we would receive the perfect knowledge of God's pleasure over our lives. Receive it. The one who lives inside of us receives us, and we are God's pleasure. And we get to learn and figure out what it is that pleases us. in this union, what makes us jive, what makes us, what makes the wheels turn, what makes us happy. You can be in the most difficult situation and still be happy. You can be in the most complex situation and still find joy because of the union that is available for you and available for me. In this place where I lived so religiously for so long, that's how we grew up our kids. Craig's kids, when we got married, I believe we're 8 and 10, or excuse, yeah, I think so, 8 and 10, 9, 11. And so they got a glimpse of religion for a number of years. And then we moved into more of a rest and more of a supernatural place of understanding how God had truly meant for us to live, besides living by the rules and regulations that we live. And now with a grandbaby, learning how to rest, learning how to just love and be, and how pleasing that baby is. That baby's just pleasing, just being. That's how God sees us. He's pleased with you, and He's pleased with me. We are a pleasure to God. We do not have to strive to please God. Do we want to be productive in life? Sure we do. Of course we do. Productivity is a way we bear fruit, and not just the fruit of the Spirit, but fruit in our lives, where we start things and finish things, and find what causes God's heart to beat inside of us faster, and really gain a place of where we really enjoy where we are while we're on the way to where we're going. From our spirit alive in Christ, there's a place inside where we meet with that one who made us in this beautiful union, and learn how to maneuver in this jam, that we're in. Jam as in good tasting jam, not jam as in a jam, a bad jam. I just know in all the years of striving, that I was also around people that were striving. We duplicate after ourselves. And there comes a time where you have to come face to face with you and decide how you want to live. What do you want to do? In this space inside where God lives, where He's helping us, where we're leaning into the one who lives inside of us. And He is showing us. But yet, we continue to strive. We continue to try to figure it out. We continue to try to live our own way, instead of really receiving the access to this place called rest. For a number of years, religious-wise, Craig and I are both ordained in ministry, and for years we did meetings and all those kind of things. And after a time frame, it's like I just needed to pull back and go, God, what are we doing, and why are we doing it? And who are we copying? Who are we trying to be like? Who are we trying to emulate in ministry? And then realize that part of that was really religious. And I just needed to pull back and get some identity, get some rooting and grounding in the truth of how I'm made, not whose 501c3 I tried to be like, right? Whose corporation I tried to emulate because they look like this, or they look like that, or that looks like something I'd enjoy, or that looks like something I'm good at, or whatever. These are things. And then over time, it's like, this is who I am. Well, so over the last few years, entering into rest, the last 7 years, just really coming into a place more of rest, more of rest, more of rest, more of rest, more of revelation, more of hearing, more of seeing, more of being. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see the goodness of God living inside of you, you can't unsee the goodness of God living inside of you. Once you see that you are well able, you can't unsee your abilities and your capabilities. And then how you're made comes not out of a place of striving, but it comes out of a place of rest and revelation. And it pulls you away from the religious structure of having to do this or having to do that or having to please this person or having to please that person or having to hear that you're pleasing to this person over here who you have great respect for, and you're doing exactly the way they want you to do or what they want you to do. It pulls you away from having to do those things in order for them to approve of you, for you to feel like you're hearing from God. As you get more and more still and more settled in hearing, then God brings that confirmation to you of how you're living and what you're doing, etc. He brings it to you instead of you looking for it. Because I tell you, whatever you look for, you will find. If you want confirmation of a bad relationship, it'll come in front of you, and it won't necessarily be God. You want confirmation of some business plan, it'll come in front of you. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's from God, because you're wanting it so bad and you're striving so bad, and the frequency of that desire that you have all of a sudden draws that stuff to you. Instead of being still and just listening and waiting and wondering, God, what are you saying? God, what are you doing? God, how am I made? God, what is your desire for my life? What is your desire? How do you want to live and move and breathe and have your being in me and through me for the rest of my days on this planet before I transition into the next place? How do you want to live? And that's where the sweet stuff starts. So this last, before COVID, I had entered into a contract with some folks to help me with marketing. And we worked with them for almost a year. And I sought confirmation for those things, and felt like I got them from God. But guess what? It was a year of striving. And it did not bear any fruit. Not the kind of fruit I was looking for. What it did do is it allowed me to meet some precious people in South Africa that I find lovely and beautiful to this day. And hopefully will continue to know for a long, long time. But the purpose of it, the business end of it, really, to me, in my heart, what I expected completely failed. Why? Not because they erred, but because I was striving. And so over time, you see that, and you're like, man, just cut it loose. And so now, I'm not striving, and I've realized, it's like Craig and I were talking today. I said, you know, what am I doing? What is happening? What is happening? What the heck am I doing? And it's like we both realize, well, I'm not. I've come to a stop. And the last few months, as I was asking God, it's like, God, we got COVID in December, and that really put us into a stop. And in that place, it's like, whoa, you just have to stop. And then I started painting. And the painting is not out of a place of striving. And it's like, it's almost like, I know this sounds human, but it's like I can hear God saying, ha ha ha, the joke's on you, because you have no skill for this. You have no way of doing this on your own. This is just me flowing through you. And you can take no credit for anything. And so, you know, religious-wise, when you're religious back in the day, it's like, oh, it's only God. It's only God. And then religious-wise, you get to a place where you say, well, of course it's God. We know it's God. You don't have to mention that. But then God takes you to a place where it says, actually, it can only be from me. And so he brought me back to that space of, look, this is from me. I am resting in you, and I am flowing through you in a place of rest on purpose. And I realized recently that that rest for me is very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable because I'm used to doing. Even after not doing for so many years, I'm really used to doing. I'm used to it. It's like God's like, no, just stop. And so for my sanity, for my health, all these things have come into play where it has caused me to have to stop. I know God didn't cause any of those things to come, but those are culminations of things that took place because I didn't stop, because I didn't rest, because I wasn't listening, because I wasn't hearing, because I didn't know how to be productive without a super, like an agenda and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or whatever. So I know this is just me talking. It could be nobody will ever watch this. The one person who does, I hope it encourages you if you're able to watch the whole thing. This is the thing. Let God talk to you and let God really tell you. Don't strive to hear him. Just ask him, God, what are you saying? Because, I've talked to God about some things for months and not a word back. And it's like the Lord reminded me the other day of something Pastor Darren said. When you're talking to God about something and he's not saying anything, you might want to change the direction of your thoughts. Ask him something different. Ask God what he's talking about. And so when I did that recently, he gave me the dream about me just sharing with you my heart. So I'm sharing with you my heart today. Don't strive. If you don't know what that means when you go to meditate to hear God, don't do this. Oh my God, my God, my God, I'm listening, God, I'm listening, God, I'm listening, God, I'm listening, God, I'm listening. Here I am, God. Because that's the striving. Be like a baby and just lay on the floor and say, here I am, God. I'm just here to listen. I'm just here to hear your voice. I'm here to let you love me. If you're striving to love God, if you're striving to prove to God that you love him, I just encourage you to stop. You don't have to prove you love him. You don't have to prove anything to God. He's not going to love you any more or any less with you trying to prove anything to him. Just be. And as you be, you will figure out who you are and what that means. I had someone recently tell me that they felt so lost. This is a woman who loves God, a woman who knows God very, very intimately, a woman who's been in the Word for many, many years, but she's in a place where she just feels lost. It's because she's at a place where she's no longer striving, and I don't think she knows what to do because she's not striving anymore. And now it's like, well, what do you do with your life when you're not striving? You hear God so you can position yourself to live and move and breathe how he wants you to live and move and breathe, and be productive in what he wants to be productive in, instead of these set goals you have for yourself that you feel you have to be productive in order to show God that you're good enough, or show man that you're good enough, or whatever. So last month or so, I have been painting. It's a very unusual direction for me. I would not call myself a painter. Not at all. But I have just been sitting and letting God speak to me and flow through me. I've been sitting and thinking about people, praying for people, and then God will give me pictures, and I've just been painting and praying and painting and praying and releasing words of encouragement and strength to individuals. And sometimes I'm giving them those things, and sometimes people want to buy things from me, which I find incredibly amazing and fun. Since I'm not earning income because I stopped striving, God's like, good, now I have your attention. Come to me. And so now it's like when I sell something, it's like, wow, God, that was not with effort. It's like, yes, if you'll let me live through you my way, I'll show you how to earn income in a way that does not cause you so much stress and so much calamity that you're killing yourself, basically. And so, anyhow, this was just straight up talk with Donna. I encourage you to ask God to show you how to rest. Ask God to give you revelation and the Christ within. And even ask Him, God, am I religious? Let Him show you. He'll tell you. He'll show you. He'll tell you. It took a while for me to understand and to move away from that. I tell you what, even in a place of grace, you can be super religious. You can be super competitive. You can be super jealous. Because you know what? It's not what church you go to. It's not what you believe. It's the people. It's the people. And you still are going to confront those things in these different streams. No matter what stream you're in, there you are, and there they are. And so, bless God. Just learn. Ask God to show you how to lean into like a baby and rest. Lean into like a baby and be still. Lean in like a baby and let Him love you just like you are, with all your flaws, with all your quirkiness, with all your bad character traits. Let Him just love you instead of feeling like you got to get all cleaned up. And I tell you what, I still feel like I have to get cleaned up for people to like me and love me. It's fascinating, the journey I've been on, in grace even. Fascinating. Those that really don't want the real you, they want the you that they're happy with. They want the you that they feel comfortable with, but they don't want the you that you are, because that you make them uncomfortable. If you have that, just get with God and let God show you how to be comfortable in your own skin no matter what. And then God draws people to you that will be comfortable with you in your own skin. And you won't feel that conflict of, are you accepted or not accepted, and all those things. These are things that people don't really talk about. Because when you move into grace, it's like, well, I'm good. I got grace, so it's all good. And people got these cute little memes and these cute little sayings, and they're going through these things, and it's like, wow. But the reality is, when you stop loving, you're no longer in grace. You're in law, because the law was all about you striving and you doing things perfectly in order to be loved and to be accepted by God and by man. And so I just encourage you today to find what you're made for by resting. Does that mean you have to stop everything? Look, if you're earning a living, you have bills to pay, don't just stop everything. Okay, God, put money in my bank account, although He could do that. But on the inside, as you're going about your daily basis, on the inside as you're going to that corporate job, on the inside as you're going to clean that house, on the inside as you're going to sit with those babies, on the inside as you're going to clean that yard, on the inside as you're going to coach that individual, on the inside as you're going to meet with that client, on the inside as you're going into with that patient, on the inside as you're going to teach that swimmer, on the inside, find a place of that rest and let God show you what's happening inside of Him, inside of you, so that in that union you find how to live and move and breathe and have your being inside the one who's living and moving and breathing inside of you already and loving you already. Anyway, I bless you today. This is Donna with a little bit of talk. I think I will close with the word. I've been reading Colossians a lot. I think I read this not that long ago. But check out Colossians 1. I'm going to start with 9. The Apostle Paul said, "Since we first heard about you, we've kept you always in our prayers, that you would receive the perfect knowledge of God's pleasure over your lives." Wow. The perfect knowledge, that you would receive the perfect knowledge of God's pleasure over your lives. So God is pleased with you, making you reservoirs of every kind of wisdom and spiritual understanding. So you receiving God's pleasure over your lives will open your eyes to see that you have the wisdom and you have the spiritual understanding of the Christ who lives inside you. He said, "We pray that you would walk in the ways of true righteousness, pleasing God in every good thing you do." So you will get to do some good things, and they will please God. And then you'll become fruit-bearing branches, yielding to his life and maturing in the rich experience of knowing God in his fullness. There is a fullness for you. There is a fullness for me. Christ in you, Christ in me, the confident expectation. You and I have fullness within us, accessing that fullness, accessing the Father, the Son, the Spirit within you, within me. Seeing what the Father is doing, hearing what Christ is saying, letting truth, letting the Holy Spirit lead us into truth. In that space, we'll find rest. In that space, we will be a fruit-bearing branch. In that space, we will be yielding to his life. In that space, we will be able to mature in a rich experience of knowing God, of knowing his fullness. And he said, "And we pray that you would be energized with all his explosive power from the realm of his magnificent glory, filling you with great hope." I pray you will be energized with all his explosive power from the realm. From the realm. What's the realm? The realm of where the Father, Son, and Spirit live inside of you and live inside of me. There is a realm of supernatural, magnificent glory. You have supernatural, magnificent glory living inside of you. Living inside of you. Access it. Listen. Listen to the voice of the one who lives in you. Let him fill you with a great, confident expectation. Living inside of you already is this great hope. And then he says, your hearts can soar with joyful gratitude when you think of how God made you worthy to receive the glorious inheritance freely given to us by living in the light. You are light. I am light. There is a glorious inheritance that's freely given, that's already living inside of you, already living inside of me, because he has made you worthy. He has made me worthy. We have inheritance within. Christ within us, this confident expectation. Finding real relationship with a real God who has real plans for you and me as we live life from rest. Anyway, I bless you today. Just a little real talk, a little real life. Until soon, this is Donna. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Bye.